everybody doing? Don't even talk about it. Don't even talk about it. Stand by. Um, Today we're doing Sagittarius and Capricorn by a special request by someone who I hope you will donate for that. And because I really want to go chronologically. And well, I will do it chronologically unless people want to have their cusp ascending down first. You do the donations and then you'll be first. If not, I'm gonna go in sequential order. Okay, because then that keeps everybody happy. It's not about being thirsty now. It's about, because if anyone requests, then I have to cater to everybody. So I have to set a paradigm. So if you give the money, I'll honor your request. If not, you'll have to wait until I get to your turn when I go around the dial. And that way I can work with you. You give the donation, I'll send it first. If not, you have to wait until I do the order as they appear on the zodiac wheel. Okay. Now, I got Oscar de Leon. Okay. So, and I got my Scotch spliff. Nice whiskey with a dash of ginger ale, ice, a spritz. Mm, delicious, delicious. And my spliff. It's Saturday night. I have no life. This is what I do. I have a life when I'm out traveling. My Mars in Sagittarius. I live for the travel. And when I'm not on a plane, or on a cruise ship, or even on a spaceship, I'm not happy. It's a Sagittarian spirit. I wanted to be somewhere else constantly. But I will be in Palm Beach. I'm just can't wait. But and let me not talk about that because again it's getting a little old. Okay. Let's go and talk about Sagittarius, Capricorn. Oh, the beat. Oh, the beat. It grabbed me too quickly. Those born on the Sagittarian Capricorn cusp. Again, we have two polarity points here. You have those who want to be the saviors of humanity, and they want to do it their own way. Then you have those that have an altruistic vision of society, and they want society to have a beautiful mosaic homogeneity that everybody is included: black, white, lion, woman, man, rich, poor, like in Plato's Republic. In fact, the concept of Plato's Republic could have been done by Plato himself, who, in his vision of a utopic republic, of perfect government, where everyone is treated equal, and everyone gives homage to the same God and the same emperor. This was an altruistic view of the perfect society. This is Sagittarius Capricorn and the Cuspal Ascendant. It is a idealism that doesn't just stay on the intellectual plane. It goes down into the practical mechanisms of Earth, Capricorn. So here we see the grand vision of Sagittarius actually materialized as reality in actual practice in the mundane world. In the mundane world, we can create the vision, a far long vision. Because let me tell you something. People that were born with Sagittarius on the ascendant along with Capricorn have an image about the future that not many people have. They believe in the power of their ideas. And the power of the ideas, it depends on the idea. You have small ideas and you have big ideas. When you're born with Sagittarius Capricorn, the cusp ascendant, you have very lofty dreams, high ambitions, which you don't really talk about. Their visions, vision of rightful government, a rightful filing system, or a better way of cataloging, or a better way of processing data, or a better way of creating housing for the poor and the homeless. There is a genius in intellectual wisdom, quite different from the genius and intellectual wisdom that we find with Aquarius and Pisces, right? The signature of the creative genius. We can pretty much say the same thing about that, but the thing about the creative genius is that the person comes up with a fixer quicker upper. He can apply his vision and his modality, and we're talking about Aquarius, Pisces, the creative genius. They can create it at will. It just comes to them. It just comes to them because the opposite polarity of air Pisces and Aquarius is Virgo and Leo. So the creative energy, the creative conduit, or the creative spark was fosters the creative genius of the Aquarian Pisces cosmos axis gravitates and advances towards the Capricorn Sagittarian axis, or the germinal seed that actualizes in the Aquarius Pisces cosmos ascendant begins as a germinal seed in the Sagittarian Capricorn cosmos ascendant axis, because it is in the Sagittarian Capricorn cosmos ascendant, you have the inspiration. It's a question of inspiration, of high exalted inspiration. We learned in the high school history, they taught us about the era of good feeling. Remember that? We learned that in high school history? The era of good feeling. It happened after the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, when we had a new perspective of a new renaissance as the heraldic age was coming closer and the old Hellenistic culture was coming to a close. The era of good feeling. Or we can take it back to the United States at the time of the Reconstruction of the South. When the South wanted to succeed and the country went into a civil war, the War of 1812, a lot of people were killed, a lot of people died, slaves were free. I mean, the South was destroyed, annihilated, but then there was a portion of the South that went into a reconstruction period where black men and black women were freed and worked and got equal pay along with white people. This is something that's not known in history. It's known in history, but there's a lot of people that don't know that after the reconstruction of the South of the 1812, there was equality, and black and white lived in harmony in the South and made money in the South. It was short lived. That's how you had the Black Wall Street. These are Sagittarian Capricorn, a utopiaic, if I can corrupt the word, no, a utopiaic view of society and the advancement on an intellectual level of bringing about that advancement on a material form. That's Capricorn. Another utopic philosophical idealism with this combination we find when we look at Harriet Tubman going out to free the slaves. That's very, um, it was inspirational. She had a vision. Sag. But then she had to go to the earthly path of bringing the people out of the South into Philadelphia, which was a free state in the North, where blacks can live free of slavery. You know, Philadelphia also represents that utopic image of the South at that time. Philadelphia was what New York is today. Mecca in the East was equivalent to what Philadelphia was at the time. It was a haven for free slaves to work with equal wage and work equally and work in a homogeneic system where all of us are treated equal, all of us earn equally, all of us contribute to society, and all of us make society a holistic representation of the Creator, as above, so below. The Sagittarian Capricorn cuspal ascendant is a highly altruistic cuspal position. It's one that confers and connotes high idealism. But the high idealism doesn't stay in the intellectual waters of idealism. It is brought down into the cardinality of Earth, Capricorn, and make using of that philosophy of Sagittarius and weaving and planting a fabric that will actually act as the germinal seed that will give rise to a foundation of something significant and worthy that aids and benefits humanity as a whole. Understand that this cuspal ascendant signature is those who are visionaries but also have it within themselves, including financial resources. Don't be surprised if many people born on the cusp of Sag Capricorn are some of the most wealthiest Americans or people on the planet, able to use their wealth to bring about tangible results that benefits everybody. Another example is Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg has a vision of the United States that surpasses that which exists in Europe. Now let's look at it for a second. Europe has been in existence for thousands of years. The United States has only been in existence for less than 400 years, folks. Don't forget. Don't forget. We are a very young country. We're not even 500 years old. The Dominican Republic, where I come from, is 500 years old. Discovered by Christopher Columbus in 1493. We are much older than the United States as a nation. So the United States has a lot to catch up on. Michael Bloomberg, people have slept on Michael Bloomberg. Bloomberg, his vision of government, which he has copied from many countries in Europe. The bike situation, the city bikes, he brought that from Europe. That was the concept that he brought from Europe. I've been to Europe. I go to Europe all the time, and I see the bikes that you rent. We didn't have that in the United States until Michael Bloomberg took off and brought that to the United States. He is an example of Capricorn, Sagittarius. Oh, come on. You know it. Sagittarius, Capricorn, and the cuspal ascendant. It's strictly business, strictly government, and for the people with policy making. If you are born with this cuspal signature, then you should have a career in politics and in government or be a philanthropist like Michael Bloomberg. Think about it. Sagittarius and Capricorn in between cusp and the ascending. Es una novela. Ah, Tito Rojas. Eh, es una novela. Wow. Now, you might be saying, oh, Fernando, what does this got to do with me personally? You have to understand that if we're dealing with the ascendant and the in between cusp and the ascendant, we are talking about we're talking about high philosophy, high thinking, If you are young in your 20s, with this in your 20s, or even a teenager, or below age 30, don't be surprised if you are lost, confused, don't know what you want to do in life, there's no aim, and if you get into a lot of social troubles or societal troubles like jails, tickets, people born on this cusp or ascending in between cusp degree get into trouble with the law when they're young. But this is exactly what they have to go through so they can learn the ways of government, the ways of law, and the way things are governed and the way things run. And if there's something wrong with the way things run, then the person with the Sagittarius Capricorn cusp in between the sentence can have the vision to change it. I'll give you an example. Our prison system needs reform. It needs to be rechanged. The prison system is ruled by Aquarius, Pisces, and Capricorn. The last three triad, jails and institutions is Pisces. But what kind of people are being institutionalized? People of color, black people, black men in particular, Latino men. That's Aquarius. That's a whole race of men. And what is the penal system, Capricorn? To be enslaved in a prison of working, because there are people that work in prison that it boosts the economy and they only get 50 cents an hour or 25 cents an hour. That's still slave labor. It's modern day slavery in 21st century. So it's a Sag Capricorn cusp in between ascendant. It's a powerful governmental, political, social political position. It is suitable for congressmen and senators and councilmen and aldermen and mayors and people who want to run and have political office. It's a highly political in between cusp uh, degree axis signature. One that requires concentrated effort, discipline, sacrifice. Understand that Capricorn rules tough experiences. Sagittarius rules painful crisis. Remember, it follows after Scorpio, the sign of crisis. But the crisis, remember, I told you before that there are two types of crises: crisis in action and crisis in consciousness. Where you have Sagittarian Capricorn, there's a possibility that at some point in your life you might go through both crises. A crisis in consciousness, which means that I'll give you an example of a crisis in consciousness. Malcolm X. Malcolm X, he loved white women. That's one thing that the nation of Islam don't like to tell you. But I know Malcolm X's daughter. She's one of my clients. And Malcolm X, let me tell you, Malcolm X was a hell of a womanizer. Like Martin Luther King. Well, at least Martin Luther King, you know, dealt with his own women, women of color. Malcolm X went to the other side towards the white women. And that's what got him into a lot of trouble. But when he was in prison and in his jail cell, he had a picture of a white woman in a bikini, with her legs open and being doing that ecstasy within the water, like the Hooters by a car, I know the picture, I had it myself. But he was sitting in his cell and he looked at that picture and goes, we have been conditioned to love other races instead of loving ourselves. And that's what sparked the awakening of consciousness of Malcolm X. He went into a crisis of consciousness where he had to reorient his priorities. And then he became the Malcolm X that we know today. Whom his daughter happened to be a client of mine, a lovely woman, someone I've known now for a while. Now, a crisis in action is different. A crisis in action is when you are called to step up, like what happened with Eric Garner with the chokehold of the police officer and the way they handled that situation, or Adubu Luima, who 4 or 5 white cops took him in the bathroom and shoved the Atlantic into his rectum, destroying his intestines and his stomach, and they had to pay millions of dollars in settlement by the city of New York because of the abuse of NYPD. That's a crisis in action, where some abuse like that, or someone getting killed on the roads of New York City because the bike lanes are being run over by cars and trucks when they're specific for only bike lanes. Now we're getting people getting killed in their bikes because these laws are being disrespected. This is crisis in consciousness and crisis in action. And notice that it's going to take government to fix this and set laws and policies and regulations. So for those of you who are born with Sagittarian Capricorn on the cusp in between ascendant, you are being called to develop a life of politics, social welfare. These are the areas that you're going to gravitate towards. Now, it doesn't mean that it has to be sticks and stones the way I understand policy and government and all that stuff growing up. Now I'm 52 years old. Millennials and people younger than that are going to reinvent the wheel. And crisis in consciousness and crisis in action might mean a different thing for these young generations now than it did for us in our generation, which may call for a different set of actions. So the person born with Sagittarius Capricorn and the cusp in between ascendant is here to be a rainmaker, or a policy maker, or at least an inventor, someone that can bring about social change. The keynote here is social change. So if you are born with Capricorn, Sagittarius, on this cusp, on this in-between cusp, then you're here to make effective changes that will affect the lives of many people, beginning on a communal level. Sagittarius and Capricorn on the cuspal ascendant. Oh, the beat just hit. Oh, that was good timing. Oh, right now I be dancing, turning the woman around. The salsa and turning around. Oh, oh. This is my life. I'm a priest. I can't be indulgent in carnal desires anymore as a priest. I wear white. That's why it has to be in my mind. You are my source of pleasure. Talking to you and doing this video for you. Let me light my split. I know many of you have been dying for me to light the split. I know I better get as much as I can now, right? Because when I go to Florida, even though but the people that hosted me in Florida, I'm going to turn KJ and Victoria, they got my spliff waiting for me. Oh, Frankie Ruiz, Puerto Rican, up to that island, Puerto Rico. Ooh, I can tell you, I can talk about that island. Oh my God, the richness that's there. You've got to go. Okay. I'm naturally like this. I'm not like this because I'm drinking. Because I just turned on the spliff. I'm naturally like this. The spliff and the drink just makes it more. I know you might be disappointed if you feel that this combination wasn't as exotic as you thought, but this signature is very political, very business, very savvy. Success comes later in life, and we're done with this combination.